This is the Morichapi forest region and its vicinity in the Sundarbans. The forests which belong to this region are Shatjelia, Kumirbari, Mollakhali, etc. Geographically located between 20 degrees 30 minutes to 22 degrees north latitudes and 88 degrees 6 minutes to 89 degrees 6 minutes east longitudes, the Sundarbans is the largest mangrove forest in the world. Many rivers pass through this vast region covering 9,630 kilometers square. The Sundarbans consist of a total 102 islands, out of which only 34 are inhabited by humans. After the partition of the Indian subcontinent, the portion of Sundarbans that came to India was only a small part of the vast region. The area covering the north and south 24 Pargana districts of West Bengal and is the only mangrove forest in India. The region under forest cover is 4,210 kilometers square and the region encompassing the tiger reserve is 2,685 kilometers square. From Sagodip to Taki, this dense forest provides shelter to some of the most dangerous animals in the world. The forest is also abode to the Royal Bengal tiger. The local people believe that the only way you can escape this beast is to seek the grace of Bonobibi. Bonobibi culture is one of the major folk cultures of the Sundarban region. Bonobibi is a local popular deity in the Sundarban region. This culture is a result of the place of the deities in people's life and professions. Both Hindus and Muslims have collaborated to generate this culture. The woodcutters, Mole, or the people who depend upon collecting and selling honey and wax from the forest, Baule, Baulia, or the people who are known as the disciples of Bonobibi, and the fisherman community are directly or indirectly attached to this folk culture. Every year, towards the end of the cold month of Poush or on the full moon night of the winter month Magh, between mid-January and mid-February, the devotees of Bonobibi get together and offer their vows or Manat Puja. We are now in the Morichapi forest, where the people have come with offerings and prayers. A few days before the puja, those who have taken the vow to worship the deity collect leaves and twigs from the forest and build a shelter for her there. In an area where at high tide the land becomes part of the mighty river as it enters the sea, the shelter of the forest guardian deity is constructed a few feet above the ground to prevent the water from crossing the threshold level and entering the hut. An image of the deity is made out of clay. The worshippers row it out to the forest in a boat on the day of the puja. Earthen stoves are built and earthen pots put on the fire. Kheer is made out of rice and sugar in earthen pots. This is the Devi's prasad consecrated to the deity and then distributed among the devotees. How did Bonobibi come to this far-flung, inaccessible, dangerous forest infested by some of the fiercest animals on earth? The story goes that Dukhe, the first devotee of the Devi, was entrapped by Dokhin Rai. Dokhin Rai, who imprisoned and exploited Dukhe, had taken the guise of a tiger. Dukhe prayed to the deity to help him escape. When he fled the clutches of Dokhin Rai, he returned home. Then he begged at several places, and with the collected alms, he prepared this Kheer Shirni, which he offered to Bonobibi during the puja. From then on, the tradition is that no matter what the followers may be able to afford, the Kheer Shirni Prasad is a compulsory part of the worship. On the day of the puja, the followers observe a day-long fast to prepare their minds and purify their bodies for the worship. Generally, the puja in the forest is performed in the morning. After the worship ends in the forest, in the shelter built for the purpose, the people return to their villages. Then starts the worship of the deity in the village deora or temple. In most places, Bono Bibi is never alone. There are two deities of the same height, one male and the other female. Besides, a boy is placed at the feet of the two figures to set light in the deity. The deities are the Devi Bono Bibi and her brother Jongoli. The boy is Dukhe, the Devi's first devotee. At some places, Bono Bibi is also seen astride a tiger. The deity is taken and kept inside the hut. 3 mounds of earth are heaped one beside the other. This is the place sacred to the Devi, her Than. The locals believe these Thans belong to Bono Bibi, Jongoli and Borokhan Gaji. Borokhan Gaji was the son of Sultan Shah Sikandar, someone very close to Prophet Muhammad. He came to this country after he received the territories of the Bhati region from his father. He is one of the famous 5 Pirs. Some also believe that the Thans belong to Bono Bibi, Dokhin Rai and to Dokhin's mother Narayani. Dokhin Rai was a ruler from the south, so he was called Dokhin. This was a logic explaining his name, according to Dr. Ashutosh Bhattacharya, a scholar who mentioned this fact in his work Bangla Mongol Kavyar Itihas. He was a son of the sage Dandabakhu. After the death of his father, his mother Narayani sat on the throne. Dokhin was a very tyrannical ruler, so he was often compared to a tiger. This is how Muhammad Khatir described Dokhin in his Johura-nama. According to the facts provided in Abdul Ghaffur's Gaji Sahibir Gan and Kalu Gaji Champavati Panchali, Dokhin Rai was the chief commander of the king Mukut Rai. After he got his own land, he became a ruler. According to Rai Mongol Kavya, written by Krishnaram Das, he was considered as god of his disciples. If one worships him, something good will inevitably happen to him. Whether these personas are real or not is doubted by many, but the story of Bono Bibi and Jongoli acquiring the land of 18 Bhati or 18 Bhatis is very well known. Sundarbans is situated in the low tide portion of the river, so it is often referred to as the land of the Bhatis. It is believed by many that Bhati is a portion of land surrounded by water on all sides. The figure 18 has special religious significance for both the Hindus as well as the Muslims. 18 has sacred associations with both the communities, like the 18 Puranas and the 18 Mukams. This is the reason why Sundarbans is often referred to as the land of the Bhatis. In the swampy mangrove forests, where man has to respect, love and battle nature from moment to moment to eke out a living, the story of Bono Bibi is one that weaves the hopes and fears of daily life into a structure of belief and practice. The evil ruler Dokhin Rai may have been a zamindar, or he may have simply been the dreaded Royal Bengal tiger from whose domain the local people must wrest their livelihood. The exploitation by the upper castes and upper classes and the danger of the forest both may have prompted the common people to search for a force or a power associated with their lives and professions. This need is answered by Bono Bibi. The story of the origins of Bono Bibi is narrated in the Puthi or manuscript. But its spread in this difficult terrain was not through reading but through performance. Johura-nama, the manuscript containing the origin of Bono Bibi, is not only a written text. It is also the source of the Bono Bibi Jatra or performance. Besides this performance, the glory of Bono Bibi was also spread by the Pirs and Fakirs, the wandering teachers and mendicants of Islamic persuasion, whose popularity is a special feature of Bengal's Islamic culture. The story of Bono Bibi's origins is found in the manuscript Bono Bibi Johuranama. Its composer, Boyanuddin, is venerated as the writer of the tale. Following Boyanuddin, Muhammad Khatir wrote Bono Bibi Johuranama. Muhammad Munshi also wrote Bono Bibi Johuranama, but Khatir's text became more popular due to its simple, terse language, whereas Boyanuddin's text was ornate and invocatory. The manuscript of the Johuranama plays an important part in the worship. The priest sits with the Johuranama manuscript. No Brahmin priest is needed for this worship. No mantras are read. Instead, the worship is accompanied by a compulsory reading of the story of Bono Bibi's origin, her arrival in the Sundarbans, and her great powers to protect the people who live there.
নূর নবী পয়দা করে ফের সেই নবীর নূর হইতে 14 ভুবন বিচে যত কিছু সয়ে আছে সিজিলে নয়া কোনো কৃপাতে আখেরে দুনিয়া পরে আহে দিল শুলো করে ভেজে তারে শহর মক্কায়.
The story of Johuranama consists of two parts. The first part begins with the story of Berahim, a respectable man of the city of Mecca, and his wife Ful Bibi. They were childless for a long time, so they went to Hazrat Muhammad's grave to pray for a son. Finally, Fatima Bibi, who dwelled in paradise, appeared before Berahim, satisfied by his prayers. She tells Berahim, after looking at the Quran, that 2 children are still left in paradise and they may take birth at Berahim's place. But this will only be possible when Berahim marries for a second time. Ful Bibi was deeply saddened by this divine instruction. But she allowed her husband to remarry so that the curse of childlessness could be removed. After his wife permitted him, he married Golal Bibi, the daughter of Shah Jalil, and very soon she became pregnant, according to the divine instruction. Just before her childbirth, Ful Bibi applied her conditions and sent Golal Bibi to exile. Berahim now was completely helpless. He took Golal Bibi along with him. Pretending to go to her father's place, he took her into the dense forest and left her there when she was asleep. There in the forest were born the 2 servants of Allah, Jongoli and Bono Bibi. Berahim returned to this forest after some time. He asked her forgiveness for all his previous sins and took her back home. Even though Golal agreed, her 2 children preferred to stay back in the Sundarbans and preach the greatness of Allah. It was here that they fought the tyrannical Narayani and her son Dokhin Rai. After Narayani was defeated in this battle, she decided to share her empire with Bono Bibi, and Bono Bibi decided that Kedokhali and the surrounding region would be under Narayani's control and Bono Bibi would control the area of Bhurkundo. Born to a respectable parentage, Dhonai Moule and his brother Monai decided to collect honey and wax from the jungle to increase their family's wealth. The business-minded brothers hired a poor boy who would take the risk of getting off the boat and enter the jungle to collect the honey. This poor boy, who takes the dangerous job because he and his mother are starving, is Dukhe. Before Dhonai and his men reached the forest, Dokhin Rai, the ruler of the forest, had prior information of their arrival. He hid all the honey and wax so deep in the jungle that nothing could be found. Then Dokhin Rai appeared to Dhonai in a dream and instructed him to sacrifice Dukhe. Only then, he said, would he give all the honey and wax. Failing this, Dokhin Rai threatened to kill them all. Thereupon, Dhonai left Dukhe in the jungle as a sacrifice to Dokhin Rai. In return, Dokhin Rai allowed them to return home with boats full of honey and wax. After his return, he spread the word that Dukhe was killed by a tiger. Hearing this, Dukhe's mother was struck with a great grief that made her deaf and blind. Dakshin Rai came before Dukhe in the form of a tiger. Seeing the tiger, Dukhe remembered his mother's instructions and prayed to Bono Bibi. Then he became unconscious. The terrified plea of Dukhe shook Bono Bibi's throne, and she rushed to help Dukhe with her brother Jongoli. They defeated Dakshin Rai and thus rescued Dukhe. Bono Bibi kept Dukhe with her for some time and took great care of him. Then she sent him home on the back of the crocodile Cheko. After he returned, his mother regained her voice and hearing, again through Bono Bibi's mercy. After the return, Dukhe revealed all of Dhonai's misdeeds to his mother. He also narrated Bono Bibi's greatness. Then they decided to collect alms and worship the deity who had protected the child from evil in the form of the ferocious tiger. After this, Dukhe built his house with the wealth he received from Boro Khan Gaji and the materials from Dakshin Rai. Dukhe became a landlord after this. Dukhe's sudden change of fate tempted Dhonai. He wanted his daughter to marry Dukhe as a form of repentance for his previous misdeed. Dukhe lived happily ever after with the grace of Bono Bibi. This is how Bono Bibi's influence spread. This ketcha or kissa is written by Muslim poets of these areas. This indicates the common worship of a deity by poor landless people regardless of their religion. And in the manuscripts, this has brought about a linguistic intermingling of the different types of Bangla spoken by people of the two communities. The script used to write Arabic is the Semitic script, written from right to left. The Jahuranama manuscript is written in Bangla alphabet, but it also begins from the end. Thus, the last page of the manuscript is actually the first. Various Arabic, Persian and Turkish words mingle in the text with many Sanskrit and local words. This is not the kind of Bangla that is spoken in the city. It is one of the few instances of such writing still read and performed in West Bengal today. According to Dr. Sukumar Sen, this type of writing was initiated in Bengal in the 18th century in Dakshin Rai, the southern part of the Red Earth area in Bengal. Sen notes the poignancy of the language affected by the Muslim poets' mingling of local elements with the Perso-Arabic. But he also discusses its role as part of the way in which newly formed cults of local gods and goddesses entered the established pantheon. However, the lives and practices of the people reflected in the Jahuranama proves also that the text has historical and ecological value as well. The description of Bono Bibi and Jongoli have been provided in a unique way by Muhammad Khatir. Bono Bibi as a deity has no communal identity. She is neither Hindu nor Muslim, nor does she belong to any other religion. Researcher Sanat Kumar Mitra says that the poor, hardworking people suffering from hunger forgot the barriers of religion when searching for support and succor. When everyday struggles are so intense, religious division does not apply. And this is the crux of what we are investigating, the Bono Bibi culture arising from the syncretic religious beliefs of these people. All the devotees, irrespective of their religion, look to their deity to fulfill their wishes. They vow that once they get what they want, they will offer Manat Puja. The puja is a great occasion for a family get-together. The whole village acquires a festive mood on such occasions. The people, depending upon the forest and the river for the whole year, have a lot of respect for the goddess as well as for the denizens of the forest which she protects. Many folk theatres or jatras are performed by groups. These are mostly depictions of Bono Bibi's life and glory. The rituals cover the best part of the day. After the whole day's worship ends, it is time for the jatra, the performance based on the Jahuranama. This performance is known as Bono Bibi Jatra or Bono Bibi Pala. A stage is built in a nearby location. Hay is laid out on 3 sides of the stage for the audiences. The musicians shared the same ground level with the audience. Both Indian and Western instruments are used as accompaniment. The tarpaulin, used as an upper covering, is hung from 4 bamboo poles. Earlier, oil lamps were hung from these poles to illuminate the place, but now this is replaced with electric lights. Even in this bone-chilling winter cold, the people of the locality seldom miss a concert. At such concerts, the person playing the harmonium is the dohar. The Puthi master has a copy of the manuscript which he reads in an undertone. The actors, who are often unable to read themselves, gather in the green room, listen to it and enact their parts on stage. Previously, the pala went on all night long, but now no one can stay that long, so the duration has been cut down. Most of the songs in the performance are more local than spiritual. Excluding a few stanzas, most of the songs have no religious elements at all. Like the Johranama, the performance is also meant to rouse spirituality among the masses. But the performance also has the purpose of entertainment, and for this reason, some changes are made to the main script. Divine beings and characters in this play appear before human audience and predict the past and future of the characters. They reveal the reality about many of the characters as well. The songs, acting like a classical Greek chorus, help in the plot development. Local boatmen or Maji are stock characters. The scenes involving them provide comic relief and offset the serious discourse of the main plot. Their antics on stage attract quite a few. The poverty-stricken people of this region have to work hard to earn their living, and this festivity comes as a relief in their difficult lives. For a day, they forget all their troubles in a mood of festivity. We can join the journey to the land of the Royal Bengal tiger and the abode of the great Bono Bibi in these selected scenes from Bono Bibi Jatra.